Hi, Moms Making Six Figures. This is the last podcast of 2023, and I feel like you should maybe grab a pen and paper for this one. My interview with Natalie has a lot of nuggets in it, and she's a very successful entrepreneur. She's also a mom of two, and you're going to hear a lot of things about her journey that, depending on where you are in yours, probably will help you. So enjoy. Welcome to the Moms Making Six Figures podcast. My name is Heidi Bartolotta. I'm your host. In this podcast, you will hear real women, real stories, and real inspiration. If you enjoy it, please subscribe. Thank you for doing this. We're laughing already before we even start. Okay. We've been wanting to get this scheduled for a while, so our travel schedules worked out, our kids' schedules worked out, everything. So thank you for joining me.
Absolutely.
I thought I would start this one out by narrating your life a little bit.
Oh my gosh. No, not too much, please.
Just a tiny bit, because there's a couple of things that I really want you to focus on, and we could talk for a really long time.
I know.
Yeah.
We could talk for days.
Yeah. And the market that listens to my podcast are those aspiring to six figures.
Okay.
So I want to focus a little bit on that. So will you start out by talking about your first job and just a short snippet of how that progressed?
Did I tell you what my first job was?
Uh-huh.
Which one was it? What store did I tell you? The store. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was Del Taco or the store.
Yeah.
Okay. I was the drive-thru girl at Del Taco,
Okay,
too.
you didn't tell me that.
No, so the store. Okay, so my first job, I think I was around 17, and my parents, they didn't give us cars. They had a family car that we could drive if we had a job. And so I, of course, procrastinated, and the last job I found was like a used clothing store. It was called the Luxe Anyways Fashion Lounge. It was whatever. So I get this job, and I just didn't have my nails painted on my first day. And I thought, you know what? I just need to have painted nails for my first day of my job. Well, painting your nails when you're in a hurry is a really bad, and when you're 17, is a really, really bad idea. And so everything was like, they were getting all jacked up, but so it took way longer. And then on the way to the job, I realized that my car was almost out of gas. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is the comedy of errors. And I'm like, what do I do? I remember I called my mom and I said, Mom, do I risk it and then like potentially run out of gas, or do I just pull in really quick, put $3 in and get to the job? And she's like, you better not risk it. So I pull in, bottom line, I'm 15 minutes late, and the lady just comes up, my boss, the owner of the store.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't say lady. She was the boss woman. And she comes up and she's like, you're fired. And I was like, what? I was so full of pride. I'm like, you can't fire me. Like, I could run this place. And anyways, and so yeah, I just got fired. Literally, I wasn't even there for 2 minutes and I got fired. And then walking out, I just sat in my car. I was kind of stunned, because I was like,
reality check.
She couldn't even give me like the benefit of the doubt, like it was my first job. Also, it was way farther away than I had thought as well. And I probably didn't Google Maps it or whatever. Anyways, I just sat in my car and I just thought to myself, I can never work for anyone. I need to be an entrepreneur. So that was it.
And what was the next step after that? So where'd you go from there?
So then I actually ended up going to Ecuador for almost a year, and I lived abroad. I'd always wanted to learn Spanish, like fluently. And this was actually, I just met my husband. Obviously, he wasn't my husband, but I just met him on spring break prior to going to Ecuador. So it was like total God thing, because he didn't speak any English, zero English when we met. And then like 3 months later, I left for Ecuador. And we stayed in touch and whatever, and now we're married. And so that's another episode.
Yes.
So I'm like, that's another episode. That's part of the sequel. So I'm in Ecuador, and I decided to go to college. So I applied to school, go to Santa Clara University. I'm there. I wanted to major in theater. So that was like my passion.
Yeah.
Really? I told you that? Yeah. So I love theater. I love speaking. I love like being a character. I think it's just so fun and creative, and there's no limits, when you're being someone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted. But then I was like, I couldn't make any money at that. And I've always had like big visions, and I'm like, big visions take money. So I just thought, well, I better major in business. I did not like it. I did not like college.
No.
No.
Did you pull anything out of it, do you think?
Yeah, how to pass with doing the least amount of work.
And endurance, probably,
Yeah.
doing something there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sticking with it,
Yeah.
I guess. So, yeah.
And then you ended up in real estate.
Well, I had a short little thing at Macy's. I worked for Macy's for 6 months.
Yeah.
And after college, again, I had a boss and I was always late.
Okay, so this is actually the one that I was thinking of.
Okay.
Because one of the things that you said when we were talking about Macy's is one of the things that you learned is that people love to be on a winning team.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I thought that was very insightful and really impactful for people to understand because you ended up killing it there, even though you didn't love being there.
Yeah.
Because you figured out the way people were wired.
Mm-hmm.
And that really transitioned into your next career.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I could talk about that. I didn't know it was.
No, that's okay. I just kind of summarized it.
You remember so much from our conversation. And I'm like, I literally am like, what are we talking about?
It's your life. So
I don't know.
I'm taking glimpses.
I have a lot
in
of
your,
themes.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
But then you ended up working for your mom. So let's start there.
Okay.
Because I kind of summarized
Delete all
Macy's.
of that.
No.
No. Irrelevant information, people. Okay. So my first job was at Macy's. I had just graduated from college, and I was in my early 20s, and I was a manager over 3 departments. So I had men's shoes, men's clothes, and housewares. 3 things I knew nothing about.
Right.
And when I started, they have like districts of stores.
Right.
And there was 12 stores in my district, and they put me over those 3 departments. My departments were in last place. So their sales were abysmal.
Yeah.
They hadn't had a manager for months.
Set you up for winning. Big
Totally
time.
winning.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually
You
kind of an
did.
interesting nugget because my mom always told me, my mom's full of wisdom. She's always told me, she said, if you ever want to make an impact somewhere where you go, she goes, take on the hardest challenge. Don't take an easy one and like incrementally make it better. Start with something that's really ugly and messy and people will really see.
Yeah.
So I actually was inspired. I was like, okay, well, these all suck. There's nowhere to go but up, right? So I remember thinking, okay, how am I going to get, I had 60 employees on my teams, ranging in age from 18 to like 65. And I remember thinking, how am I going to get this team to be at the top? Like I wanted to be number 1 in the district. That was my goal. And I just remember thinking, well, everyone wants to be on a winning team. Like every person from when we were kids, right? We watch these movies like Sandlot and things, and we always imagine like, what would it be to be on that team?
Yeah.
Or some people imagine, what would it be to take the last shot or to be the one lifted up or whatever? But you know what I mean? Everyone wants to be a part of like a champion story. So I went to each person individually and I was like, okay. I said, I know, because they all had limiting beliefs. They were like, our department sucks, and we haven't had a manager, and we don't know what we're doing, and they were like the misfits. I mean, really, of the store. And I just said, those days are over. It's a new day. We're going to be number 1. I'm not even going to, like, if you have any doubts, you should probably just quit because we're going to be number 1 with or without you on the team. I'm kind of intense sometimes. And
no, really?
Just a little bit. When I get onto something, then I'm like on, you can't be waver. If you're going to be a leader,
you can't waver.
You have to know where you're going. Otherwise, where's the leadership? And people were excited and they believed me. I mean, did I think it was possible? Did I have doubts? Of course, in my private time alone. But did I show them that? No, I just knew, okay, that's the thing. We can control our effort. We cannot always control the outcome. But I knew that if we focused on the things that we could control, right, like greeting the customer and all the things that they had taught us in the management class that I went to, I'm like, let's just implement the playbook and see how it goes. And then within 6 months, we were first in the district in all 3 departments. And then after that, I quit.
So you really parlayed that into your next career. So when we were talking, one of the things that really stuck with me was that winning mindset. You really proved it there, but then you pulled it into everything that you've done since then, really. So will you talk about real estate?
Sure. I'm like, what part? Okay, so the reason I got into real estate was, I started as a leasing agent, leasing apartments within my parents' property management company. And I was like, I will never be able to make more money here. I'll only be getting, an increase of maybe 3 to 5% every year. And I need more. I'm just someone that I don't want a ceiling or a limit on how much I make.
Yeah.
I never thought, interestingly enough, like that I wouldn't make money. I never entertained it. And I think that that's something that a lot of people struggle with, right? Like they are vacillating in entrepreneurship. Like every day, they're like, is my business going to work? Is it not going to work? Should I quit? Should I keep going? Should I get a real job? I mean, truly, I see this everywhere.
Absolutely. I would say it's probably the thing that people waste the most mental energy on. Instead of just focusing and going, they do that cycle in their head a lot, which just wastes a lot of time and energy and does this emotional thing to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, truly the battle is won in your mind first.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to think in your mind that you've already won. And then, am I a freak? I'm like, say in your mind, I am already this. I am a 6-figure earner. And then every day you just wake up and you just do the actions of a 6-figure earner. And then voila, one day you're going to wake up and you're a 6-figure earner.
Yeah.
But people, they look at their current circumstances and they think, well, I don't have this or I don't have that. And I think social media has exacerbated this to the nth degree because they compare.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I'm not as far along as Heidi, Natalie, whatever. But it's like you're looking at my Instagram 10 years into my journey or whatever it is, 11 years or however long, you know? And so don't compare your day one to somebody's whatever 10 times 300 something is, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, no, decide that you are going to be that person and then just take those actions. And so that's what I did in real estate.
Yeah. And I think, there are so many books out there on this, right? But one of the things that's so powerful about what you just said is that when you assume this, you become this. And the actions here change based on what you already believe to be true, right? Mm-hmm. And it's an interesting thing to watch people do. It's also an interesting thing to watch people struggle with.
Yeah.
I do agree social media has played an interesting role in all of our lives, but especially in that entrepreneurial life.
I think, too, on social media, on that topic, it's when you're scrolling, okay, and you're seeing all these, it happens to me, it happens to everyone. It's an unconscious thing, and you're seeing people more successful than you, more seasoned than you, right, in the field that you want to be in or whatever.
Right.
Unconsciously, you might not be thinking that thought like, oh, I'm incapable or I'm not there yet. But what you're doing, unconscious, every time you see that image, it's coming in your RAS, your reticular activating system. It's telling you like, you're not there yet. You're not there yet. You're not there yet. You're not there yet. And think about how many hours people spend scrolling. Yeah. It really is, it's not helpful for the mindset. We need to be closing our eyes. And that's why I love entrepreneurs, because it is a faith journey. It's a journey of faith.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Right? You have to talk yourself up every day as an entrepreneur.
To be your biggest cheerleader.
Every hour sometimes.
Yes.
Right? You could get a phone call that could just derail your whole day. And it's like, okay, how do you get back to center and stick with the plan? So, yeah.
So one of the things that you've done that I think is very interesting and something very different than some of my other guests that I think would be interesting for you to talk about is you came into a family business, you bought out your family business, but you had a very different vision for where you wanted to take it than where it was at the time that you purchased it.
Yeah.
So will you talk a little bit about that? Because I do think that visionary piece is something that's very strong in you, and also something that probably other people don't think about. They would think, oh, I'm going to buy this business and I'm going to carry it forward the way it is. But you bought it with the intention of really shifting the focus of it. Will you talk a bit about that?
Sure. So one of the things that, just having grown up with a mom that was in real estate, there's a lot of highs and lows. We used to do a dance as kids. Did I tell you this before?
No. So
my sister and I, it's my mom, dad, and then I have a little sister. And we used to do a dance every time my mom would close a deal, because she sold large apartment buildings and things like that. And sometimes those transactions can take, 6 months, even a year to close. And we used to do this dance, feast, no famine, feast, no famine. Seriously. And then we would eat salmon. That was like a thing. So anytime I eat salmon, I feel rich, because anytime my mom closed a deal, Salmon. Salmon and champagne. Obviously, we didn't get the champagne, but And so that was the programming. So it was just highs and lows and highs and lows.
Yeah.
And and also being on call. So when you're an active salesperson, you are on call. Like if your client needs you at 8:00 at night, you are going to pick up the phone because you are on call and you are in sales. And salespeople get paid the most, and they should, because they're the ones driving the income. And I love salespeople. I love being in sales. But I had a vision and a dream in my heart that I wouldn't have to be on call, right? Like that. I wouldn't have to live that highs and lows. And it's definitely the highs and lows thing. It's addictive. Like it's such an adrenaline rush. It's like being on a roller coaster every day. And I loved it. Like I have a little love-hate with it, because it's fun. Yeah. But then also can be really, when the market shifts or when things go down or when a deal falls apart and you worked on it for 8 months, you're just like, what? My whole 8 months is like in the trash can.
Yeah.
And so anyways, with the business, our business at the time was mostly brokerage. And we had a small little property management division. And I just said, no, I want to do reoccurring revenue. And I want to focus on, I want to build this all up and I want to take on this. And I was still selling real estate at the time. But and a lot of people were like, don't do that. There is no money in property management. The profit margins are bad. It's, not an easy business. People have nervous breakdowns. Like it's just pure complaints and all of this stuff. But I really did have a vision for what it could be. And thank God, like it's gone really, really, really well.
Yeah. Yes.
But it was hard, very hard, because when you have everyone telling you that you're making a horrible mistake.
Well, and there's the challenges of the business naturally, right? So you have that and the challenges of, some of the things that they were saying were accurate. You were just overcoming them in different ways. So,
I had to believe in that vision. And really what got me through it was I would just envision the life that I wanted in the future and like the mom I wanted to be and also just the mental state that I wanted to have. Is that weird to say?
No.
Like I would just imagine, okay, what type of mental state do I want? I want, literally, this is what I would say. I would tell my husband, I want money to be off the table.
Yeah.
That was my goal. So whatever. And of course, back then I was like, I was totally, and I can't say this and then not say the other things, so I'll tell you. So I back in those days, I was like, I'm never going to be the person that spends up to their income. Always going to be that person. I'm always going to be that wise person, that never overreaches, like keep your overhead low so that you can have all this investment. And we did that. And my husband is the one that has the brakes on all the time with spending because I'm more impulsive. And and then, of course, our lifestyle has, they call it lifestyle creep. It has gone up. I mean, we don't live in a 1,600 square foot house anymore like we started and all of these things. But obviously the income has kind of gone incrementally at the same time.
Right.
But I thought literally that I didn't want to move out of our 1,600 square foot home.
Yeah.
I wanted to live in that forever. That's what I told. But
it changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as your faith grows too, for me at least, as my faith grew, I was like, I don't need to be afraid that this is all going to go away or I need to keep my life small. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's also interesting, too, thinking about what you said about your childhood and your upbringing, because it really did kind of teach you, it does come and go and come and go. So you almost had to overcome that mentally in order to, progress. It's so interesting.
And then when we moved here, we moved to Boise in the 90s because my parents went through a bankruptcy.
Yeah, so you lived it in different ways. Yeah.
Like they came here with nothing, literally. Like some cars and we rented a little house.
Yeah.
And so I think being in a family of entrepreneurs, that's why I love like talking to people who are the first entrepreneur in their family and they have these dreams and these goals and these visions. I just think it's so exciting because they're really setting a course for, for generations to come. Yeah. And I love that. And so, my sister and I, we grew up around that. Like my mom's first job when they came here and they were bankrupt, she opened a snack shack.
Wow.
Just do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Like selling candy bars. I'm not even kidding. And
Yeah,
my sister and I worked there, and yeah.
It's such an interesting way to grow up. I did not grow up that way. So it's such an interesting thought to think about growing up in that environment. Yeah. Everybody's life is so different, right? It's
So different.
So cool to hear.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you have transitioned to, well, first I'm going to ask you 2 questions and then we'll go there. Okay. The first one is, do you remember when you hit 6 figures?
Yes.
Okay. It took you a second. Was there a feeling around it, or was it I already knew I was going to do it and you just kind of kept moving past it? Or how did
my gosh.
How did that feel for you?
I feel like I'm going to blush. So, yes, I was excited about it, but my goal was never 6 figures.
Yeah.
I was excited when I hit $1 million.
Yeah.
That was where it was. Well, first it was the 6 figures was like, I got excited. I won't lie. Like, I was like, wow, this is great. But it was doing brokerage deals.
Okay.
And so I thought, I'm going to like offend people. I thought, well, that's cool, but that's not really a business.
Oh.
That's not coming to me passively.
Right.
This is just the vision that I've had for my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's exciting. But like, I had to work so hard for that. I had to be doing the transaction.
Right.
And so I was excited. I won't, say no. But my vision, my goal was I want to see when I can make 6 figures out of the business.
Right.
Right. Through the team, through the profits.
I think it's interesting for those listening, though, to hear that, because it really does depend on your mindset.
Totally.
And everybody's reaction is so different when I ask that question. Some people are like, I was aiming for it. Like, it's very, very, they know exactly when. Others, it was like, it kind of surprised me because I hadn't really been looking at my numbers. And then others are like, oh, yeah, but that was just like the beginning. I knew I needed to hit that to get to the next. Everybody's different, right? And it doesn't make it right or wrong for anyone. It's just different for each person, but it's powerful.
I think, too, I've never really focused on the money. It's just been a scoreboard.
Yeah. Yeah. You look at it differently. And that, so I'm going to ask you one more question, because that one that you just said kind of leads into where I was going to go. Any podcast, book, anything that you can say made a dramatic impact on you?
Oh, gosh. Well, I took a real estate course. It was called Bold. It was like a real estate seminar.
Okay.
And it was mindset. I'm really big into like mindset, but then it also had this accountability. It was kind of like a mini mastermind, I would say. And we met once a week for 7 weeks. And then I actually ended up becoming a coach for Bold, and I traveled around the U.S. doing it. So I'd say that was super.
The biggest impact.
I took it 8 times.
Oh, wow.
Because I just know me.
Yeah.
And I need accountability.
Yeah.
Like, we all do, right? But I put myself in situations where it's forcing me to go further in the thing that I want. So there was the social pressure of the other agents in the room. There was the pressure of the coach. There was a lot of different elements to that program that made me have to perform and make the calls and do the things I didn't want to do. So that's the main thing that I think really helped.
Cool. So where I was going to go is kind of where you're going now. So you do coaching and you do retreats. I know that. But your real passion, and I think that I see this in the coaching and the retreats, is really you helping young entrepreneurs. It seems like to me to kind of break through those mental barriers. That's really, it seems like where you're focusing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
I think
so
it's
talk about how you ended up there.
How I ended up there?
Yeah.
Gosh. I haven't thought about that. How did I end up there? I think coaching has been so impactful for me in my journey. I had a coach before I made 6 figures. Like, I invested in a coach early on, and it was $1,000 a month. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And but I just I don't know, something in my spirit just knew, like, I need this accountability. I really value, like, wise mentorship, people that are further along than me. And I just I've had so many coaches. I currently have a coach. Like, we've probably invested over $500,000 into, like, coachings and trainings and things like that. And so I think for me, when I look back, what really got me into it was I just wanted to be that help to somebody else.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think also probably some of your faith plays into that.
Yeah.
You have this very strong mindset of service in a way.
Mhm.
Not service like some people think, but service from your strengths and abilities. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is powerful.
You probably won't find me raking leaves or stuff like that. But I'll tell you how to make a lot of money in your business. Yeah. I mean, literally yesterday, I'm in Bible college right now. And what I'm realizing there too is that is another like accountability group.
Yeah.
So it's like that's making me do the reading that I wouldn't necessarily do on my own and do the thinking and all of the essays and all of that. And I'm learning and growing so much by being in that environment. And I'm almost thinking, gosh, like, what am I going to do when it's over? It's only 2 years. I'm like, I'm probably going to have to re-up because, because the journey never ends. If you want to progress, like, you have to put yourself, for me at least,
situations. Yes.
Accountability is everything.
Yeah.
And so yesterday there was a girl that she's really young. She's has a wedding planning business, and she works in the coffee shop there at church. And we were just chatting, and she's like, I really want to, like level up my wedding planning business. And I was like, so excited. I'm like, okay. I'm like, tell me what you've done. Tell me what you want to do.
Here's what we're going to do.
She's like taking notes. She's taking all these notes. And it just brings me joy. It really brings me joy.
Yeah.
So I like to see people that are hungry, that are ambitious, that have faith. Like, it takes so much faith and courage. Those two things. And those are probably the qualities that I admire most in people, faith and courage.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Last question.
Okay.
So on top of business, you also have a husband that you're very devoted to and children.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about motherhood, because this is one of the questions that I get asked all the time is how do you balance it? And I think that word balance is a very tricky thing. I don't personally like to use the word balance, but
manage it all.
How do you talk about that?
Yeah.
Like, what is it that you do in your family setting to manage your very driven nature? And you mentioned your husband is a little bit more methodical, so I'm guessing that helps. But
so a couple of things. First, it's a mindset. So my mindset, and I have to check myself because I don't know if anyone has been on my Instagram lately. I've been posting some videos about this. I'm calling it like ambition addiction, you know? And so I can get, I would say, like laser focused. I can get almost like manic about like a goal. I can get lost in my own ambition, and it is kind of like, can be kind of scary, right? Like, I get blinders on.
Yeah.
And so I've had to learn that about myself over 10 years or whatever. So for me, it's been a mindset shift of, okay, at the end of the day, like I just imagine like, okay, the bank account, it's filled with, let's just say 10 million or 1 million or 100,000, whatever it seems like a lot to you.
Right.
Or, for me, I'd say like 10 million in cash. It's in 10 million in cash. I've got it. The business is running. All my goals are checked off. Like every goal that I've set out to do, it's all checked off and it's all done. And I'm on my deathbed. And it's just me and my goals all checked off.
Yeah. Not very rewarding.
No, it's totally like that is abysmal. And that just like makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
Then I go to the other thing. And like, I'm being really real because I have such an ambitious and driven nature, I have to do these like mind games with they're not mind games, but I'm constantly coaching myself in my own mind. And so then I go on my deathbed, and now I'm like, the other side is I'm surrounded, like I have my husband, I have my beautiful boys, they're married, they have their kids, and not necessarily on my deathbed, or I usually imagine, someone's wedding.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of morbid. But I imagine like their wedding,
it's
right?
a little bit happier.
Yeah, I do. I imagine their weddings and the women that they're going to marry and how beautiful they are and all these things. And I imagine my first dance with my sons, and I imagine my husband there and us talking about our marriage and how it's just been like this fountain of joy for us and just being devoted and being loving and all these things. And then I just imagine and I just like soak in that in my mind. And then that once I get that straight, it makes everything easier.
Yeah.
You know what it's been doing for me? It's been allowing me, I want to say this. Somebody needs to hear this, and it's me and it's everyone. We all need to hear this. It's been allowing me to take the steps of faith to hire out roles that I no longer need to be in. Even at the cost of short-term losing money. Losing money. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So like in the business, we have so many hats we run, especially when you're scaling to 6 figures, you're doing pretty much everything at that point, right?
Yeah.
But there comes a time when you either continue to do that forever and ever and ever at the sacrifice and to the detriment of family and your spouse and your kids and your own health and well-being, or there's that next step. And it's a leap of faith, and it takes courage and strength to say, okay, I'm going to hire out these more administrative things.
Right.
And I'm going to focus on the things that only I can do, which is the sales, right? That's what the founder should be doing, is sales, right? Strategy, vision, business development, marketing. Like that is what a founder needs to do. Or, I mean, there's one other option where I see the founder as being like the artisan, like the product person, like either if they're the esthetician or, you know, but for the most part, they're doing the sales, business dev and all of that. And then they're building a team and they're expanding their world, but taking a leap of faith to do so, because it takes a lot to hire. I remember my first assistant I hired, I was like, I literally thought I'm going to go broke. I'm going to die. I'm going to broke. Like your fear just sets in so hardcore. And don't think that I don't still go through this. I do, because you see your bottom line and you're like, okay, no, our team is good. But at the expense of, you know, I can literally think of 3 or 4 roles currently that I'm doing that I need to, I mean, and my assistant knows.
Yeah.
I need to hire these roles out. Why haven't I let them go? Because I know that for a short term, they're going to reduce the amount of money that I make. And it's a scary feeling.
And it's also the training, too. That's one of the things that I've found is, yes, it's the economic impact, but it also takes more of your time initially to train, to hire appropriately, and then to train and teach and relinquish, right?
And what if they're not the right person?
And what if they're not the right person?
And you have to do it again. And
yes.
Yeah, and then you finally get the right person, and then, you know, they leave or whatever. I mean, that's just the journey of business. But I think for me, that's where it's landing, is like, how can I continue to walk in faith, right? And put people around me leveraging their strengths. I don't need to do it all and be it all and control everything, because that's just pride. And really have boundaries on how much time I'm going to spend in this thing that is great and it's fun. Like, it's fun. I love it. It's fun. It's so fun. It's like a playground business. It's so fun. I love it. And you have a scoreboard. It's called money. And, you know, but how much time am I going to dedicate to that versus, you know,
these other things?
Yeah. And I've made a standard for myself. I won't miss any of my kids' stuff. I'll go on all of their field trips. I volunteered, and it's awkward. I don't love I know your podcast is called Moms Making Six Figures. I feel uncomfortable around like stay-at-home moms. I feel totally in my head. Like, I don't know what to say. I mean, I feel like they are like the pinnacle of success in motherhood. And I am like a C- student. I mean, literally, that's what I have like insecurities around it. Because in business, like, I can crush it. I know how to talk business, but like in motherhood, I'm like, wait, so what do you do? How do you do that? Oh my gosh, you're doing this. I don't do that. You know, like that's where I have insecurities.
I feel like that's another podcast altogether.
Totally is. It totally is. So, but I volunteered at Tino's, it was like a Thanksgiving thing at his school, and he told me it was the best day of his life.
Oh, and there you go.
But was it the best day of my life driving there? I was like having a panic attack. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say to these moms? And like when they ask what I do for work, like, what am I going to say? And I don't know. I'm awkward.
Oh my gosh. So, wrapping up, any words of wisdom? So you know the demographic of the podcast. Any one more piece of wisdom? I know we could go on and on for the next 3 hours, but anything in particular that you think, oh, I think they should hear this before we go?
Yeah, I think the main thing that I want to say is spend time, right, in your quiet time, really thinking, I mean, if you're a person of faith, praying, and really seek out the things that come from the spirit realm, I would say, obviously good things, and be guided by God, because at the end of the day, when you're guided, things come easier, right? There is not as much resistance on those things, and then you have stronger convictions when those storms do come. Because I would say I can look back at my journey, and I was 100% guided to restructure the whole business and to do it exactly how it's laid out today. And that came from getting quiet, seeking out those things. And that helped me withstand a lot of storms. So that's what I'd say.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
We need to do another one at some point because we've got a lot of other things to talk about.
You want to talk about how I'm all about stay-at-home moms? I'm like, you're the pinnacle of success. And I'm like a C-. I do my best, but I forgot Tino's outfit on picture day. And he was like, I can't believe you forgot my outfit on picture day, because they have uniforms.
Yeah.
So I gave him the wrong uniform for picture day. I'm like, what? These people make it so complicated. But this is the best. You're going to love this. So it was me. I'm running in with his stuff. He's crying in the hallway. Like, I'm running in with his outfit. And at the same time, I'm running out because I just got him changed. He's all happy now, dried the tears. This other mom, who's a really successful entrepreneur, she's running in too. And I was just like, so I see you. It was just so funny. And then we texted later. I was like, of course, we would be the only moms that didn't get the right outfit for picture day. But, we do our best.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.